Hey guys, Tina here and welcome to my favorite books of 2016 video. This is the last video in my, year in review series that I have been posting on my channel throughout December. We have made it to another end of the year and I'm not sure how that happened because I just remember 2016 beginning and now it's ending and I will have to learn a new number. 2016, 17, what's... that's gonna be confusing for a while, but yeah, I guess I'm excited for the beginning of the year. I wish it's really didn't go, so fast, but I'm sure it's going to be full of surprises and great books, which is what we're here for, right? But yes, first we have to go through the books that were my favorites in the previous year, and firstly I will be starting with Marketing Flash by Anne Bishop, which is book 4 in her other series that I have been, talking a lot about here on my channel, and you're probably sick and tired of hearing about it. But yeah, I still love it, and it's one of my favorite series. It tells the story of Meg, who is a blood prophet, and she lives in this world where humanity and sort of nature are really divided, and the only part where they sort of meet is the courtyards, and that's where Meg ends up at, and she starts establishing her life there, learning how to be human and making new friends, sort of falling in love. And I loved Marketing Flash. It was a slightly darker book than the previous ones, simply because things happened that you can tell that eventually are going to happen. If you read the series, you will know what I'm talking about. And yes, now I cannot wait how things will get resolved in this last book that it's coming out next year. And I'm gonna miss these characters, but I heard that Anne Bishop is coming out with another series in this world, and well, let me tell you, the excitement is real. I cannot wait. Well, no, first we have to conclude this one, and then we'll get to the new one, and yes, I cannot wait. Another great book that I read this year is Golden Boy by Abigail Tartellin. This is a very interesting book. It deals with intersexuality. We have Max, who is intersex, but he's 16 and this thing has never been dealt with. He identifies as male, but he has both sexual organs, and until recently he actually never had to deal with this topic and face the reality of his issues, and now a certain thing happened and he's forced to face it, and as well as his parents, and he actually has to deal with it for the first time, and it's a really interesting book. I loved it. I think the topic was dealt pretty well with. I'm not that is the first book that I've read on this subject, so I'm not an expert or anything, but I felt that it was done really well, and I definitely recommend this book. Especially, we are talking a lot about reading diversely, and this is definitely one book that deals with that really well. Then we have Truth Witch by Susan Denner. This is book 1 in what I think it's a 4-book series, and it deals with witches, and we have Safi and Iseult, and they're witches, and Safi is actually a truth witch, which means that she can tell when people are lying or telling the truth, and as such she's sought after, and these two girls always manage to get into some trouble, and that's what happens at the beginning of this book, and they have to go on a run. And along the line we meet some boys that are witches as well, and it's a really fun book. The beginning was sort of slow, but then it picked up and I really liked it. I really liked the friendship between the two girls, and I will be rereading this actually in January because Wind Witch book 2 comes out then, and I have to refresh myself a bit because I do tend to forget stuff, sadly. I admire those that remember books no matter how long ago they read them, but yeah, some books I do, some books I don't, and the majority I don't that well. Then we have The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman. This is the first book that I read by this author, and I was really impressed, and I have a few of her books that I have to get to, but let me tell you about this one. This is a story of Lady Helen, who is about to be introduced to the Queen, and then she's supposed to find a husband, but instead she ends up in a world of demons and demon hunting and things like that, and it was really enjoyable to read. I really liked it, and I cannot wait for the sequel. I'm going to be saying that a lot, I think, in this video. But yeah, it was really enjoyable. I just loved the historical elements of this book, as well as, well, Helen just as a character. I think she was really great. Next we have The Royal Assassin, which is book 2 in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. And let me tell you about it, although I feel like I have spoken about these books on my channel so often that you probably all are very familiar with them by now. But this is the story of Fitz, who is the bastard son of the king in waiting. When his father realizes that he has fathered a bastard, he is ashamed and he abdicates his position, and that leaves Fitz to be raised in the stables by his father's man Beric. And later on, as he grows up a bit, he is then pledges his allegiance to the king and is then given as apprentice to the royal assassin, and he learns the trades of the trick. I really like the first book. The second book in the series was definitely my favorite. I enjoyed the third one as well, but this one was, I don't know, for some reason just my favorite. There's a lot of plotting in this one, a lot of political intrigue and such, and I really enjoyed it, not to mention that the cover is just gorgeous. And yes, this year, well, not this year, next year, I expect to reach for more of Hobb's books, and I hear they just get better and better, and I'm really excited about that. As you will notice, there are a lot of fantasy books on this list, but I also managed to squeeze in a contemporary one, and that is My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. This is a story of Samantha, who lives in this towny seaside town, and her mother is very ambitious. She, she's trying to get into the politics, and she basically raised her daughters on her own, but she's a bit snobbish, and she really doesn't like the family that lives next door to them. They have like 10 kids or something like that, and they're really loud and messy, and they're everywhere, and she doesn't care for that. But Samantha, she's really intrigued by them, but until her 17th year, she never actually had any contact with them, and when she gets the opportunity to do so, she just jumps right into it, and she falls in love with all of them, as did I. I love big families. They're chaotic but somehow functional, and especially the smaller kids were really just a joy to read about, and this is definitely one of my favorite summer reads. And if you haven't picked it up yet, consider doing that next summer. Now, this list was not really ranked from, my least favorite to my favorite, but I think these last books are actually among my top reads of this year. And the first book that starts at top half off is The Crimson Skew by S.C. Grow. I have talked about this series so much on my channel. I actually have a non-spoilery review on it, and I will be linking it up there and down below, so you can go check it out. It's called the Mapmaker Trilogy, and it tells the story of Sophia, who lives in a world divided into different time periods, and she's living with her mapmaker uncle. But what she's trying to do is actually find her parents. They were explorers, and they disappeared years back when she was a small kid, and now she's, 14, 15, and she's determined to find them, and she actually ventures out into the world and tries to do just that. This is a fantastic world. So much imagination went into it. I love it. I love all the characters. What I liked especially was there's no romance. No teen drama. Really, this girl is just fantastic to read about. She's just proactive, doesn't complain, and she just does what needs to be done, and I enjoy the series so much. And well, I urge you to at least check it out. It's really, I cannot praise it more. Then we have Like a River Glorious by Ray Carson. This is book 2 in her Gold Seer trilogy. This is a story of Leia, who lives in the time of the gold rush, and it just so happens that she has the ability to sense gold in the ground, which is very useful, but her family doesn't take advantage of that. They're actually very, comfortably, but they're not rich or anything. But then her parents actually get murdered, and she believes that her ability is the reason for that, and she decides to flee, and she joins a group of travelers that are heading west, and that's where this first story actually takes place, on the road base. Well, yeah, on the traveling to the west. I'm sorry, that's such a lousy sentence, but still. Anyways, in this second book, we are in California now. They're trying to settle. They're finding gold. They're, building a new life for themselves. And I really enjoyed the whole story, the historical aspects. They were just so interesting to read about. The characters, I loved the family that, Leah created around herself. I have a non-spoiler review on this book, and I will be linking it in all the places, so you can go check it out. It's really one of my favorite trilogies, probably of all time actually, or yeah, probably. Then we have Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 3 in his second Mistborn series. I know there's a lot of confusion with Brandon Sanderson books, and maybe I will do a video about that one time, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Next year maybe. But yes, this series deals with Wax and Wayne, who are officers of law, and throughout the series they're actually dealing with one specific case. And I really like the characters, especially Wayne is really funny. Wax is kind of serious. This is the time of Industrial Revolution, so it's definitely different than the world in the first Mistborn trilogy. We have guns, trains and such, and it's a really fun experience to see the Mistborn, you know, and the powers being used in this kind of world. And in this book specifically, we get to see a lot more of this world. We meet different cultures than we have, you know, known before, and it's a really interesting book, and I cannot wait for the last one to come out. But yeah, it's gonna be soon, I'm pretty sure. And lastly, we have a book that it's gonna be on a lot of people's lists, I'm pretty sure, and that is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This book surprised me, especially because ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses, its predecessor was not that good, but this book just blew me away. It gave me the worst book hangover ever. If you do not know what A Court of Thorns and Roses is about, it tells the story of Feyre, who lives in a world that is divided between humans and fairies. There's an actual physical wall between the two lands, and Feyre is the provider of her family. They need money, so she goes out hunting to get food, and she comes across a wolf, and knowing that it's actually a fairy, she kills him. And you know, they need the money, so she does it, and later on his lord comes to find the culprit, and basically he punishes Feyre by taking her across the wall and forcing her to live with the fairies. At first she's not really into that, but you know, soon she gets immersed into the world, and things happen, and we get to book 2. And this book was fantastic. There was great character development. I love where the story went. I love the Night Court. I love all the characters that we meet there. Well, it's, you know, no secret that I love Rhys. Actually, you know, he's, you know, Feyre and Rhys are my favorite couple, or one of my favorite couples. I actually have a video on that, and I will be linking it up here or down below, or both. And yeah, I actually even made a review of this book. It definitely doesn't do it justice, but I will be linking it just in case you maybe want to check it out. But let me tell you, I am slightly scared about the 3rd book, because I'm scared that it's going to be disappointing compared to this one, and I do not want that to happen, because this one was fantastic, and you know, the conclusion should be just as great, and hopefully it will be. But yeah, we have a little while to wait, and then we'll find out. So those were my favorite books of 2016. Let me know down in the comments what some of your favorites were. And well, enjoy the rest of the year, and see you in the next one. Bye!